Hello and welcome everyone. I am Sarah Snell Cooke, your host here at the Credit Union Connection. PFI used to stand for Primary Financial Institution. Now, Mark Sievewright, Chief Strategy Officer at Head of Credit Unions at SRM, says it stands for Porous Financial Institution because your members don't have just one or two banking relationships anymore. They've got seven, eight, 13. Mark has been 40 years in the industry, watching the competitive landscape go from something you could list in 5 minutes to a list that could go on for days. We're talking about companies you've never heard of, ongoing, going after slivers of your member relationships, fintechs that built empires on getting people to their paycheck 2 days early, and why Apple reinvented the credit card. But Mark's got good news. Hiding in all the chaos, credit unions can win. They can copy the digital experience, they can become data driven and AI enabled, and they've got the one thing Chime will never have, an actual relationship with their members. You'll hear why Mark thinks this is actually the most optimistic time for credit unions. And as long as we get a few strategic things correct. So now let's connect with Mark. Hello, welcome everyone. I am Sarah Snell Cooke, of course, your host here at the Credit Union Connection. I am joined by the excellent, wonderful Mark Sievewright. Welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. Plaudits equally apply to you, my friend.
Uh, and he is the Chief Strategy Officer, Head of Credit Unions at SRM. Uh, Tell us a little bit more about yourself and the company.
Oh, well, thanks, Sarah. Great to see you. Gosh, 40 years now in this industry, and I'm only 36. It's hard to believe,
I
right?
know. I hate it when it
And
happens. Yeah.
25 of those spent working very deeply with credit unions. I can tell you that a lot of the things we're focused on right now in serving credit unions are brand new.
Hmm.
Artificial intelligence, you and I were talking offline a little bit about the impact of AI. It's become a little bit of a buzzword, Sarah, but it's probably the most significant technological event of our lifetimes. We'll probably take the word probably out of that sentence in a year or so. SRM has really evolved very quickly. My business was acquired about 3.5 years ago. And we used to be known for kind of helping credit unions and banks uh, do their third-party contract negotiations. As you'll recall, we still do a lot of that. That's a huge part of our business. But we've also diversified now into technology advisory support and payments and strategy, where my team and I come in. And as an organization, we're kind of supporting credit unions from the boardroom to the back office, pretty much all their needs. And I'm just struck, as I know you're probably the same way, given how long you've been in this business as well,
We don't talk about that.
by the amount, that's right, by the amount of change that's going on all around us for our credit unions. Um, so I wake up every day and I focus my working life and somewhat some of my personal life on what's best for the credit union system. And I'm still having as much fun today as I did 25 years ago doing that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard not to let it bleed into your family life. I remember when my son was about 5 years old, so this has been a minute, but uh, he we're in the middle of dinner and he suddenly asked, "What's the difference between a bank and a credit union, Mom?"
And how long did it take you? Did it take you very long?
Nope. Nope. Unfortunately, I mean, he works occasionally for us, but yeah, not so much. He's actually a poker dealer, so kind of
You
maybe the
know,
opposite of what
there
credit
might be
unions
some
are.
comparisons with some of the
I'm sure.
decisions we have to make these days, right?
I'm sure. So, and it was interesting. I came across a newsletter today. I applied a lot of marketing newsletters, and I learned that today apparently is National Storytelling Day.
Oh, is that right? Oh my
Yes, which
gosh.
credit unions are always talking about,
That's right.
sometimes not operationalizing, but actually talking about it. There's a lot of GAC about it. You and I were both
Yeah.
there. I think there were 3 sessions on storytelling. So,
Including the main stage session, right?
yes, yes. And so, in your mind, what story are credit unions telling their members right now?
Oh, it's a great question. I think what's old is new again, Sarah, because the essence of credit unions, as you know, is this people helping people, right? And you've been driving that mission for as long as I've known you. And credit unions today are trying to find new ways to connect with what is a very different consumer base than 20 years ago. Very different. And I think the story is somewhat the same as it used to be, but better in that credit unions are really trying to support the financial lives of their membership in a very unique way, where they're not necessarily focused on next quarter's earnings, even though
Mhm.
earnings are important and we need them, of course, but they're focused on what can they do today to better the lives of those they serve and the communities they serve. And I think that differentiation is becoming even more emphasized today because, as we know from all the research we read, the American consumer is challenged, right? And needs credit unions potentially more than they ever have. I think some of the challenges we're seeing include things like scale of credit unions becoming so much more important today
Mhm.
because of the need to invest, whether it's in technology or other infrastructure. And the economic conditions, Sarah, are challenging. These are not political points, by the way, just to emphasize the
Sure,
factual
yes.
points. I don't want people to misunderstand me, but economically, people are struggling to buy their first homes. They're dealing with constraints on their spending ability. They're worried about the future, socioeconomically and geopolitically. It's kind of a really, really challenging time for a lot of people. And I think credit unions are at their best in those types of times.
Mhm.
I forget which organization created this, but you'll know it. But the credit union umbrella,
Mhm.
the man with
No,
the
I wasn't
umbrella.
around in crayons that long ago.
Exactly right.
Neither were
But
you.
we often see that cartoon image, don't we, of the
Hmm.
guy with the umbrella and the words credit unions written on the umbrella. And I think that's what credit unions continue to do.
Hmm.
Um, but I would say in all the interactions I'm privileged to have, Sarah, with credit union leaders, both small and large credit unions, this is probably the most challenging time many of them have ever been through.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you pointed to, K-shaped economy right now,
Yeah.
and those people on the bottom part of the K-shape is a lot of who credit unions are serving,
Yes.
um, and obviously technology,
Yeah.
which you're kind of an expert on that part.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. So one of the things I've been harping on as somebody who's in marketing is uh, credit unions marketing their experience, the member experience, focusing investing in the member experience over,
Yeah.
promoting their rates all the time, which of course are important. They do provide the ROA, ROI that
Yeah.
credit unions can reinvest into serving their members. However, you, the topic we're kind of talking about today is going to be experience over products, which ties in pretty nicely, I think, too.
Right. Right.
So how has that attitude shifted from consumers' perspective as well as then inside the credit union management and the board's perspective?
Yeah, excellent. I think, and I don't just think it, I kind of know it and I see it every day, sir. The expectations that consumers have of us, of any financial institution, have never been higher. And there is a need these days, I would argue, across all age groups. We used to say things like I'm about to say about younger people, but I'm going to apply it across all age groups where we want everything faster. We
Hmm.
want it simplified. We want it easy to consume because we don't want to spend the finite amount of time we have available because so many of us are time deprived, right? That's another big social change. We don't want to spend that on banking necessarily.
Hmm.
And so the time we do dedicate each day to trying to manage our financial lives, everything has to be simple, easy, fast, convenient, and truly available when we want it. But I think the big shift recently, and I'd say recently is more the last 2 years or so,
Hmm.
is the shift in loyalty.
Hmm.
I was talking to a client at GAC, and I said, remember the concept of PFI, primary financial institution?
Gone. Yeah.
Gone. And I called it probably not very funny in my storytelling, Sarah, but I said it's porous financial institution because our members have multiple relationships
Mhm.
in multiple different venues, right? Or institutions. And I don't say financial institutions anymore like I used to because of the impact fintechs have had.
Hmm.
I mean, just look at the competitive landscape we have today versus a decade ago. It's totally different.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
Most of the fintechs did not exist
they didn't exist. I mean, I go back to your wonderful tenure at Credit Union Times, right? Back in the day.
back
And
in
if
the.
I'd said to you, if you and I were having this conversation 15, 20 years ago, and we said, hey, let's write out the competitors for credit unions today, we'd probably get that done in 5 or 10 minutes.
Hmm.
Today, Sarah, we would be going all day and we'd probably leave some off the list.
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I'm hearing of companies these days that I've never heard of before who are after just a sliver of that financial relationship with the consumer.
Hmm.
And literally, they're names that you and I might not recognize, but they're after that particular product or service. And I think loyalty has become very fickle for the American consumer. And so the opportunity for credit unions, I think, is to win back the relationship play.
Hmm.
To sort of say, look, we truly do exist for you. Yeah, we may not have the best rate, we may not offer the best product in any given category, but if you trust us with your relationship, you will be better off. I think that's the story I'm hearing in a lot of boardrooms as I work with credit unions, that they're trying to get that differentiation back.
Hmm.
And I think the other thing, and I sort of have a slide I use that got the doomsday clock on it, right?
I know, me too.
Which is,
Seriously.
the context for that is sort of credit union philosophy, credit union taxation, keeping the credit union movement together as one.
Hmm.
I think that's become even more challenging.
Oh yeah.
Do you
Oh,
agree?
yeah. I mean,
Right?
the larger credit unions, it's like an entirely, they're still credit unions. I don't want to say that, but it
Right.
is a
No,
very
no.
different business model. Very different.
Very different. I equate it to sort of a $30 billion credit union and a 30 million or even a 300 million, Sarah, credit union,
Hmm.
which to your point have very different business models. And yet it's so important they speak with the same voice,
Hmm.
particularly around regulatory and advocacy issues.
Hmm.
I mean, I was just reading about this sort of Illinois interchange,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
Which, if enacted, I have no idea how any financial institution is going to separate tips and gratuities and so on before they calculate interchange. I mean, how are we going to do that operationally?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And then, other notions that I've heard in our industry. Well, let's tax the billion-dollar plus credit unions and leave the rest alone. Well, something like that undermines the entire system.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very opportune for our mutual friend Scott Simpson now to be taking over America's credit unions at a time
Mm.
like this, because I think there's a big job to be done from
Yeah.
from an advocacy perspective. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And him coming from Utah, where all the most zealous anti-credit union banks are,
yeah,
I think is a good fit for today's times because it, I feel like it simmered down for a while. The bank attacks on credit unions were like less pointed, but this past GAC, it seemed like they were, doubled over at least
yeah.
on what the bankers are doing to
You got it.
kill
And
off.
by the way, there's some green shoots of hope in all of this too. I don't want to come across
Okay,
as,
tell
oh
me
my
about it.
gosh, the sky is falling. But what I was struck by at GAC, and I didn't get to spend too much time with them, unfortunately, but the number of good fintechs, Sarah, that are
Mm.
emerging, who truly, if they're successful, can help a $30 million or $300 million credit union do
Yes.
things that the larger credit unions are doing and sort of leveling the playing field. I made this comment during my presentation that we have to become data driven and AI enabled. Our
Mm.
credit unions have to evolve to that place where they're truly using data the way it can be used. and they are AI enabled in how they're running their businesses.
Hmm.
And I think that became kind of a lightning rod or theme during the session with David that I mentioned earlier, because I saw a lot of credit unions and CEOs in the audience relate to that statement. And I think our ability to become those types of institutions are being facilitated by great fintechs. You
Hmm.
know, they'll help us get there faster.
Yeah,
I
for
really
sure.
am optimistic about that, you
No,
know.
yeah, absolutely. And you see more of them becoming QSOs as well,
Yes,
which is really interesting. And I work with a fintech currently that they couldn't be more credit union-y. They said, forget the
really.
banks, we want to work with credit unions of any size. And that's one of the things too in my consulting. I'm kind of go off topic here. In my
Yeah.
consulting, um, a lot of the business partners I find want to work with the top billion-dollar credit unions because they want the money. I mean, I assume that that's got to be it, right? Um, and so, what is the advantage of those fintechs that are going to be willing to work with the smaller credit unions? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for the advantages for them, for the fintechs themselves, is there are 4,000 credit unions that aren't $1 billion plus in this country, Sarah. And
Hmm.
if they find a way that's turnkey in their ability to serve and implement their technologies with credit unions, more, you know, what was that old The Office, you know, Michael Scott. I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but
Yes.
he said, hey, if you're losing $1 for every ream of paper you're selling, sell more paper, which is
Sounds like it.
which is hysterical, right? But his underlying message was that scale is important. You know, you need
Hmm.
more volume. I think the fintechs, if they have something that's turnkey and easy for them to onboard new credit unions, can sell to the 4,000 and not just the
Hmm.
443.
Yes.
The other thing from the credit union standpoint is they can get access to technologies at a good price that they normally wouldn't be able to access. So I
Hmm.
think that's the hope. And your very astute point a minute ago about some of these fintechs becoming QSOs. I mean, we have clients who are investing actively in fintechs, like directly, Sarah, as a
Yeah.
credit union. And I ran into some folks who are involved in the Circle Fund, for example,
Yes.
right? With Nick
Venture
Evans,
tech. I think we saw each other there again. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I think the work of those organizations who are saying, look, we're creating venues for you to become part of something at
Hmm.
an affordable price, of course, allows credit unions to access technologies that perhaps they couldn't otherwise access.
Hmm.
I think that's the great advantage of what we're seeing to your question.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, like it's kind of interesting because I feel like with all the technology, a lot of the cranes can't afford to do it themselves. So they have to outsource. They have to outsource. The crane itself is kind of a storefront.
Yeah,
But that storefront is probably more important than all the technology behind them.
you got it.
You know, keep the members coming back. Can provide the counseling that they need in the branch, and all that technology is just freeing them up to do that. And so, like for a while there, it was all fintechs doing their own thing. I think they wised up and decided they needed to
Yeah,
partner with credit unions in
yeah.
particular, and some of those other four-letter words. But
That's
but
right. I love what you said there because
Mhm.
one of my positions on AI, if I can call it that, is that AI properly implemented or used not only allows you to attack your technology budget as a credit union,
Mhm.
but it actually allows you to attack the sort of human side of the credit union in a good way. In other words, if I can free up, you know, loan officers or member service reps, to your point, to do more valuable things for their members than do things
Mhm.
that are routine and repetitive, that's really good news.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
wrote.
think we're starting to see AI now play on the human resources side, not
Mhm.
just the tech side.
Yeah, for sure. I think, a lot of Gen Z and even millennials are going to be looking for that in the next workplace they go to.
You
Are you
got
going
it.
to have these assistants to help me do the job better?
That's it.
So,
And Sarah, on that note, I think for the first time in our lives, I say think because I can't come up with any comparison that I have. we now have a technology in AI that can feel human.
Mm.
I don't know another technology that we've ever used that feels human, right?
A decent chatbot for sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as it advances, and it's going to advance very quickly, we're humanizing technology to the point where, yes, it can be dangerous and we have to make sure we control it, and
Yes.
absolutely a huge proponent of that. But imagine if the experience we give our member can be replicated by technology,
Hmm.
and then we can do more valuable things for them
Yeah.
than that, whatever that was.
Right.
I think that's the great opportunity.
Yeah, one of these podcasts recently, somebody was talking about, executives can just ask a question to a bot, and it will tell them, okay, well, this is how many members took advantage of this product or service today, and this was your revenue on it, and this would, answer all the questions that they might have and provide some insights to help actually execute on things that are going to support
Yeah,
the credit union itself.
yeah,
But using natural language question,
that's it.
it's
Conversational,
amazing.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, whether it's coding, whether it's producing a video, whether it's producing marketing materials, look at all the marketing you've done in your career, right?
Mm,
Imagine if you had AI tools then that you have now.
yeah. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with AI as far as the the writing part, but for many reasons. But yeah, one of the things too that I think has been a big issue for credit unions is these fintechs like Dave and their cute little teddy bear and
Yeah,
Chime and their bright green
I know.
colors. Their go-to-market strategies are just eating credit unions' lunch.
Yeah.
And so, how can credit unions battle back against um, that kind of branding and that kind of effort that they're going against?
Well, they can't beat them on branding and advertising spend, sir, as you know, but I'll
Oh,
tell you, imitation is the best form of flattery. And here's what I mean. I find it incredible that Chime built a business model, an entire business, on the fact that you get your paycheck 2 days earlier than you used to,
mm-hmm,
and it's all digital with no branches.
mm-hmm.
You only get that benefit by the way of the paycheck 2 days early once,
Oh, I
right?
didn't know that.
Well, because if you move the cycle
Right,
forward,
then they're all 2 days early. Right,
right?
exactly.
And so
Hmm.
credit unions have the technical capability, and many of them, by the way, have copied and said, oh, we're going to
Yes,
do that too,
mine always did it for our
right?
original SEG. Yep.
Tell that story to your point earlier about storytelling.
Yeah.
Don't keep that a secret. Tell them you offer that too. But then the digital part of it, which is where Chime thrives, I think, and some of these other fintechs you mentioned, is they truly can deliver outstanding digital experiences.
Hmm.
And everything from a payments perspective is either a physical plastic card or it's on your phone, right? That's how they
Hmm.
operate. And no branches. So, what aspects of that can we compete with? Well, I think given the digital capabilities that exist now in the market with third parties, they can copy the digital experience. They
Hmm.
really can. And then from a payments perspective, whether it's Valera or any of the other great payment providers in our industry, they can access tools that compete with Chime as well.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like don't hold back from trying to copy that value proposition. Do it. It's within reach. Do it.
Hmm.
But wrap around it the uniqueness and the relationship that you want to have with those members, which
Hmm.
respectfully Chime doesn't,
Yes.
right?
You're right. You do something a little bit better than them, they got nothing left, like they've got nothing. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
But that first mover advantage was huge, wasn't
Oh,
it, for
yes.
them?
And they did it hard and fast.
They really did. It's kind of like Apple Card. Imagine
Oh, yeah.
after, you know my background with MasterCard and everything else. Imagine after 70 years or so, Sarah, of payments experience in this country that we've had, with plastic card use, I mean. Imagine that it was an Apple, tech company that
Mm,
reinvented credit cards,
hmm.
not any of the incumbents.
Right, right.
It took a technology company to reinvent a business that's 70 or more years old.
Yeah.
And we needed to pay attention to that because the disruption effect that had meant that we, quote unquote, as an industry, weren't thinking innovatively,
Hmm.
how do we disrupt the credit card model? And instead, we allowed somebody else to do it. You
Absolutely.
know, financial institutions should have invented PayPal. They should have invented Venmo, its subsidiary.
Hmm. Totally.
Zelle is really doing well, obviously, and that's somewhat collaborative as an industry, of course. But innovation, we've just got to get better at innovation. We really do.
And I think we also look at competitors way too much. That's kind of my strategy. Of course, you should pay attention to your competitors, but really, you should be working on being better than you were yesterday.
Absolutely. Well
Um,
said.
yeah, because I mean, Cranians are awesome, and if they were to, focus on really building upon that and taking advantage of that relationship, uh, there'd be no competition. Cranians would have 90% rather than 6% of the
You
market,
got it,
right?
right? And as I recall, did you used to be a softball player? Am I
I
confusing?
played softball at one
Did
point,
you?
yes.
Well, you'll appreciate this sporting analogy, right? Don't some of the great teams of athletes and so on, they always have this sort of common mantra of one game at a time, focus on doing your job. They
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about the competition as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And they just stay very focused on being the best they can be, to your point. And I think there's a lot to be said about that.
And I'm just rereading David and Goliath from Malcolm
Oh, yeah.
Gladwell.
Yeah.
And the first, metaphor he uses is this girls' basketball team that is no good, but they full court press the whole time, and they outrun their competitors.
There you
And so
go.
they're just, yeah, you scrap, you work with what you've got,
That's it.
and be scrappy. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I could go on for days,
Oh,
honestly.
likewise, I
Uh,
know.
but I always allow my guests to have the final thought. What would you like to leave our credit union audience with today?
Oh, wow. You put me on the spot there, my friend. Um, I would say this, and I sort of said this at GAC, be more optimistic today about the future potential of credit unions than you've ever been. Because I think if we as a system get some things right strategically, um, the movement has a wonderful future and a very relevant future.
Hmm.
So be more positive, be more optimistic, be more direct in how
Hmm.
you're going to deliver, those great stories and values to consumers. So that's what I would leave them with, an uplifting, optimistic note.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Sarah. Good luck to you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.